Zohran Mamdani's video about Benjamin Netanyahu has garnered over 100 million views all across social media platforms, 60 million views on X, over 60 million views on Facebook and Instagram as well. And it's really set off the pro-Israel crowd, the Republican establishment. So I want to go ahead and just read to you guys some of these posts because, I mean, the backlash is absolutely insane by these individuals. Of course, AIPAC, the Israel lobby, stated this propaganda video is based on modern blood libel and outrageous lies. Mamdani is shamefully trading the truth for social media clicks, trying to score political points by demonizing our ally and its supporters. It's both wrong and dangerous. We've seen this play before. Now, of course, we have these typical, Israeli accounts. Laura Loomer, she's now saying that senior FBI is apparently in contact with her, telling her they believe Mamdani is connected to the IRGC. Of course, Laura Loomer would say something like that. And then we have U.S. politicians as well. Leo Terrell, he's a politician that's behind the task force to combat anti-Semitism. Calls him a Jew hater. Senator Tim Scott said Zohran Mamdani calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal is absolutely ridiculous. Danny Danon, the Israeli ambassador to the UN, stated Zohran Mamdani, enough with the blood libels, enough with the attacks on Jewish organizations, enough with the outreach onto the Iranian regime. You were elected to serve New Yorkers, not Hamas propaganda. Do your job. So enough with outreach to the Iranian regime. I don't know why. I guess the IRGC, or not the Iran's government reached out to the mayor's office, not like directly Mamdani or anything, to have a meeting, and apparently they turned it down. That's what I understand happened. Zohran Mamdani made a video stating exactly that yesterday. Regardless, odd. You were elected to serve New Yorkers, not Hamas propaganda. Do your job. Benny Gantz, also an Israeli official, stated political theater at the expense of everyday New Yorkers is one thing, but parroting Hamas lies on starvation, sympathizing with terrorist deaths who murdered and raped innocent Israelis, claiming IDF targets journalists and aid workers. You guys realize the IDF, by the way, has a specific, faction dedicated to creating lies about journalists in Gaza to paint everybody in Gaza that is murdered by the IDF as related to Hamas. There's a specific wing for that. I made a video on it previously. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a specific wing for that that's just focused on doing that, by the way. So, I mean, we have so many other individuals stating the same thing. Here's a clip actually from Piers Morgan. Anna Kasparian commented on this. I want you guys to take a listen.
Where corruption is baked into our system and foreign lobbying groups have the ability to buy off our politicians, we get dragged into wars on behalf of Israel. We get implicated in the war crimes that they commit. And what Mamdani is trying to signal is that there are Americans who disagree with this. There are Americans who have been elected as public servants who are actually against this. They can't be bought. And I really appreciate that, despite the fact that he doesn't have the jurisdiction to unilaterally arrest Netanyahu. It's about messaging and basically messaging what our values are as Americans.
You know what? I can't understand how it just made me feel good knowing he even tried. I think he actually felt like a lot of people genuinely just felt like somebody's trying to do something. And it's funny because they're trying to paint this off as if this is some sort of radical thing. I promise you, if they did a poll, the vast majority of Democrats would consider him a war criminal. That's just, they have done polls that have shown that. That's just fact. I can assure you that a lot of people feel happy that he even tried. Now, some of this sort of backlash is so contrived. You know that why the real reason they're putting out this much backlash about it is because they recognize that it resonates with a lot of people and they're scared of that. That's the real reason they're putting out all of this hate. We're having Israeli politicians of course, Josh Gottheimer, one of the most pro-Israel members of Congress. Gosh, I wish this guy could get booed out. He says Mayor Mamdani is obsessed with Israel, and the double standards is glaring. He's parroting Hamas talking points while his staff tries to meet with the Iranian officials. He should be a little less obsessed with foreign policy and a little more obsessed with cleaning up his streets. So let me just go ahead and just play a little bit of this.
Than zero. Now, 2 days ago, he threatened to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. Then yesterday, he admitted that he didn't have the power to do that. This press conference is going on, which means the issue is still going to be out there. And when the UN convened,
I mean, the mayor is clearly obsessed with this issue. He should probably be a little more obsessed with making sure that his city is running well and that he's picking up the trash and fixing the potholes. But since he's obsessed with this issue, what shocks me about all of this is the double standard. You know, we've got people, Iranian leadership, that have been in New York. Obviously, Iran, a top enemy of the United States of America, the regime there, killing Americans, including soldiers who've recently been killed in our armed services. And yet he says nothing about that, right? And I don't understand. He doesn't go after them. He, in fact, somebody on his staff tried to meet with Iranian leadership, right, from someone from the Iranian regime. That's where his head's at. And he's often parroting Hamas's own talking points. It's like they send him talking points in the morning, and he just reads them from the podium.
Can I ask you something?
I don't really understand his obsession.
Can I ask you this? Yeah.
He doesn't understand his obsession. I want you guys to remember, again, just days after Zohran Mamdani became mayor, Eric Adams, the former mayor of New York, was at the Western Wall. He flew to Israel, and then he said he represented Israel as mayor. And they talk about how Zohran Mamdani is apparently obsessed with Israel. At the Israel Day parade, every single mayor has went to the Israel Day parade. Eric Adams is constantly boasting about Israel. He flies out to Israel, but apparently Zohran Mamdani is the one that's obsessed with Israel. If right now Zohran Mamdani instead decided to glorify Netanyahu, he would be considered a moderate. It would be considered average. That's normal. But because he criticizes him, now all of a sudden he's obsessed with Israel. Not the people that are constantly, glossing over Israel, drooling over Israel. Mike Lawler is not obsessed with Israel. He's actually chill on Israel, even though he's one of the most pro-Israel members of Congress, constantly talking about Israel. But apparently that's okay because he loves Israel. You see that? They're always kind of putting this sort of thing out. The UJA stated Mayor Mamdani, and this is a Jewish organization, New Yorkers elected a mayor to lead the city, not to make Israel the centerpiece of your political grandstanding. Your video is rife with distortions and disinformation, false. And at a time of rising anti-Semitism, oh my gosh, repeatedly singling out and vilifying the world's only Jewish state. Just say Israel. They always do this thing. I'm so irritated with it. They try to victimize themselves by always saying the only Jewish state. It's called Israel. Just call it Israel. Now, nobody cares. Just call it Israel. You're singling out the only Jewish state. Just call it Israel. For perceived political benefits is repugnant, puts Jews at greater risk, also just not true, and leaves many Jewish New Yorkers feeling targeted and unwelcomed in the city we call home. Shame on you. Interesting that apparently calling out Netanyahu makes Jewish New Yorkers feel unsafe and not welcome. Since when? Is that really how we're gonna try to go about this? The guy is calling out Netanyahu. The guy is calling out Israel's actions, and apparently that makes Jewish New Yorkers feel uncomfortable. Maybe instead we have these organizations like the UJA condemning Israel for its actions and for its apartheid and for its onslaught in Gaza. Instead, why don't they do that? But actually, they don't do that because a lot of the money organizations like the Jewish National Fund of New York, for example, is funneling money over to help Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank. And God forbid if Mamdani ever talked about that or talked about how that's not okay, it's over for him. That's what they love to do. They consistently kind of do this thing where they self-victimize while they're actively wiping out Palestinians and actively stealing their homes. It's so irritating. It's funny though, because I think it's what he's doing right now I think it should just be the standard Democratic position. Maybe I wonder if there was if somebody like Jon Ossoff made a video like that. Jon Ossoff, there's a big chance he might be running for president if he wins his elections in Georgia for Senate, and it makes me think, okay, this guy's he's Jewish, but he's very, very probably he's very, very moderate, I would say. I was looking at his voting record through VoteLog, and he's in the Senate. He's not nowhere near as pro-Israel and constantly putting this stuff out. And he's supported Palestine legislation. So I wonder if somebody like Jon Ossoff was to say anything about Israel, say something very, very similar. I wonder how their reaction would be if somebody like that did it. I think it would be the same thing. They would kind of pull the same thing they do with Bernie and call him a self-loathing Jew. That's typically, they kind of just push out this rhetoric. But what's funny to me is that this is what the Democratic Party is going to have to figure out pretty soon, is that they have to be willing to do more of this. I think ultimately it's actually the very, very moderate position of what Mamdani does I don't think that Democrats kind of are, you know, maybe they're starting to kind of recognize that the next 5 years is going to be much, much more difficult. Israel's going to try to annex the entire West Bank. They've already made statements on their, you know, willingness to do exactly that. They've already signed off on legislation to never allow for the establishment of Palestine. So if that's the case, and Israel's already pushed that legislation forward, what's the alternative? Adam Smith on Breaking Points, when he was interviewed by Crystal Ball, she asked him, and he directly said, Adam Smith being one of the most pro-Israel members of Congress, and I made a video about that yesterday, and he directly said, yeah, I recognize the two-state solution is dead, and it's unfortunate. So, Adam Smith, what's the alternative then? If you think the two-state solution is dead, then what happens to Palestinians? And your only two options are either genocide, or I guess three, genocide, ethnic cleansing, or apartheid. Either they stay there and they're lost in their own little sections, or they're totally kicked out and ethnically cleansed, or they're totally annihilated. It's one of the only three. Yet Adam Smith wasn't able to say that the existence of Palestinians being alive, simply being alive, is more important than the existence of the state of Israel. He couldn't say that. No member of Congress is going to be willing to say that right now, but that's ultimately what's simply true. And they're going to have to make that shift soon. It's going to be a real wake-up call for them when they start to say, you know, we might have to stop advocating for the establishment of Israel as Democrats, because by doing so, it basically means there's no other option now. Two-state solution's not on the table. So we're basically advocating for Palestinian, extermination or ethnic cleansing. You know what's funny as well? Now, I want to show you this. Because there was a time where we actually had Democratic leaders that actually represented human rights and everything else. You know who it was, and I consistently bring him up. Of course, it was President John F. Kennedy. And he was constantly, you know, bringing up self-determination for all people. I want you guys to just listen to, you know, some of the stuff that he's previously said when it comes to freedom for all people. And then you kind of compare it to, honestly, what Zohran Mamdani is saying. There was actually a Democratic president that actually exemplified, you know, what Democrats should be representing, since they constantly campaign on this thing about human rights for all people.
The major forum for your nation's greater role in world affairs is that of protector of the weak and voice of the small, the United Nations. From Cork to the Congo, from Galway to the Gaza Strip, from this legislative assembly to the United Nations, Ireland is sending its most talented men to do the world's most important work, the work of peace. Like the Irish missionaries of medieval days, like the wild geese, you are not content to sit by your fireside where others are in need of your help, nor are you content with the recollections of the past when you face the responsibilities of the present.
I have a whole thing. I had, you guys, Monica Wiesack, the lady that I interviewed, the JFK researcher, I had her help me put together a whole file, a folder of like all JFK speeches related to apartheid, civil rights, freedom, peacekeeping, and she put together all of these like short clips here.
So let me ask you as I close to lift your eyes beyond the dangers of today to the hopes of tomorrow, beyond the freedom merely of this city of Berlin or your country of Germany, to the advance of freedom everywhere, beyond the wall to the day of peace with justice, beyond yourselves and ourselves to all mankind. Freedom is indivisible, and when one man is enslaved, all are not free. When all are free, then we look forward to that day when this city will be joined as one, and this country and this great continent of Europe in a peaceful and hopeful globe.
So, yeah, again, I'm showing you guys this because you don't hear Democrats talking like that anymore. They keep, you know, this is, and I kind of want you guys to help me with this. We don't hear Democrats talking about this anymore because apparently this is too radical. Apparently, if you're John F. Kennedy, you're an Islamist now. If you're advocating for equal rights for all people, you're an Islamist. You're a jihadist. You're evil. This is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. Zohran Mamdani, I'm going to be honest, his speech yesterday about arresting Netanyahu because he's a war criminal, JFK would have probably went further. I mean, now that I've studied JFK for so long, watched so many of his videos, you would have realized he would have went further. He's called out U.S. allies, by the way. He called out France. He really, really angered the French president at the time because he was advocating for Algerian independence. I mean, this is who John F. Kennedy was. He angered apartheid South Africa because he talked about Africans not having the same rights as white Africans. And he advocated for, equal rights for Africans in apartheid South Africa. He did everything. He did everything that a leader today, a Democratic leader today, would never do. And Zohran Mamdani, he's doing the bare minimum, just simply stating, Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. That sets off the Israel mob because guess what? The establishment likes Netanyahu. That's why. So, with that being said, what I really would like you guys to help me do, and I also asked Monica to help me put together this folder for a reason. I'm going to share this folder in the link below, like a link to if you guys want to go through and download all these videos. You know how Republicans constantly say, the Republican establishment, not conservative, really just the Republican establishment. I've heard it so many times where they'll say, this is no longer the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy. Have you guys heard that? So if you search it up on Google, they've said it over and over and over and over and over again. I just simply think it's false. I think that, it isn't anymore, not because of the reasons Republicans are saying it, because guess what? John F. Kennedy advocated for equal rights and Democrats aren't doing that anymore. What I would love is for somebody to just do a really good, edit of that, like a 1-minute vertical TikTok or Instagram type reel that's kind of artistic, where it just has a quick play-by-play of every single recording of somebody stating that really, really quickly, no longer the Democratic Party of JFK, and they do it again and again and again. I have this vision in my head, just hear me out. And then all of a sudden you have every single clip afterward of John F. Kennedy talking about equal rights for all. Just, kind of one of those uplifting type clips. Here, where I'm kind of getting this idea from? This is so weird. I'm going on such a big tangent right now, but I've really tried to figure out a way to insert this into one of my videos. There was a Juneteenth edit. This is kind of unrelated, but there was a Juneteenth edit that went viral, obviously on Juneteenth. And it got 20 million views on TikTok. And I was watching it, and it was a Juneteenth edit, but it was just so captivating and emotional. So I want you guys to listen to it and then try, so you guys can kind of understand the feel of what I'd like for this JFK video, because it really does touch on the problem with Democratic politics today and the reason that Mayor Mamdani is getting called out consistently. So take a listen to this clip here. It's a Juneteenth video, but just hear me out for a second. I promise that this is related.
No. You're a Negro. No. I am your teacher. You are a Negro. No. Suppose I threatened to beat you. What would you say? Aren't you a Negro now?
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Millions and millions of people.
So that's just it. And the next part is kind of a different clip. But you know how it kind of just really is super emotional and kind of, it was emotional for me at least. I mean, it got 20 million views. A lot of other people found it pretty emotional too. But it's at the same time, it just kind of makes you think a lot. You know what I mean? I reached out to the guy who put this video together. He never responded to me. So maybe he just didn't see my DM or something. And I was hoping he would make me a JFK, some sort of JFK edit. But I just want some sort of just a video that could hopefully go viral and tell people, yeah, the Democratic Party of today, this is what it stood for. It stood for human rights. It stood for, not wanting apartheid. It stood for advocating for all people. And the Republican establishment, when they say, oh, it's no longer the Democratic Party of JFK, you know what? They're right, but not for the right reason. They're right because Democrats no longer stand for equal rights for all. They don't represent the interests of what JFK thought about. They don't represent, human values and treating everybody like equal. That's why it's no longer the Democratic Party of JFK. I just feel like if there was a really good edit for that, maybe it could kind of wake up, the people a little bit. Maybe it could wake up people that are running campaigns. This is all in my head, guys, but I'm hoping so. But we're going to keep, this is anyways. So back to this thing here. They're going after Mamdani. This is going to keep ramping up. They're probably going to try try to find some sort of legal, they're going to try to find some sort of like way to mess around with the system. We're already starting to see it. People are stating, prosecute him, put him in, put him in prison because he's violating the Logan Act. They're going to keep parroting the same sort of thing. And I think things are only going to ramp up now. What's funny is that people saying that he's stoking anti-Semitism because of this, what they actually don't recognize is by allowing Israel to go on a rampage, that's actually what's stoking anti-Semitism, but they don't really care to actually want to hear that. Anyways, guys, that is it for this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, I'd appreciate it if you click the subscribe button and give it a thumbs up as well. It helps me reach more people like you. Also, if you guys haven't yet, definitely consider joining as a member. If you click the join button below next to the subscribe button, you can join as a member now. You also get to see member-only videos I do on here pretty often. And I'll toss the JFK Google Drive link below as well. If you guys want to play around with that, download some of the videos and try to make a cool edit. You can post it on your own page. I just hope one of them goes viral. So I don't know. Take care, guys. Bye, everybody.